So we're recording and we're live on Facebook. Welcome, everybody. Good evening.
Hi.
So you're all here, and I am so excited to introduce Amy, who's going to introduce somebody because Amy is my coach, and I adore her, and so happy you're here to do us this great program on the weekends. So Amy, take it away.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Amy Goober. I live in the Boston area. I have been a coach since I was 1 month into this program in 2013. So if you can do the math, that was 8 years ago. And I am really excited to be introducing the introducer of the testimonial and presenting some, having a little discussion with you guys. So I'm going to introduce Beth, who is going to introduce her client who's going to give her testimonial. Beth, take it away.
Thank you, Amy. I'm very happy to have you as my coach's coach. And I would like to introduce Jen McKay, who is a good friend, and she started the program in January, and she has been a complete rock star. She has made lots of great changes and been very consistent and has an inspirational story. So I would like to introduce Jen. Hopefully she's on.
Yeah, no, I'm here. Hi, Beth. Hi, everybody. I've never actually been on one of these, so I don't really know what you all talk about, and I've never heard a testimonial. But I can tell you, when you talk about photos, my rock bottom before I started this was waking up to it being tagged on Facebook in a picture in the New York Times this past fall. And my first thought wasn't, oh my God, I'm in the New York Times. It was, oh my God, I'm in the New York Times. People from college are going to see that I'm like 3 times the size. I started a food truck with my partner last fall, and we basically ate and drank our way through COVID on top of everybody else. So I always had joked about it. I've always lost and gained the same 20 pounds over and over. Well, COVID hit, the food truck hit. We make wood-fired pizza and pretzels. Sorry to put that out there. But I gained my 20 back plus quite a bit more. So thankfully, I saw Beth's story, reached out to her, and Beth understands what I do for my real job. My food truck is my fun job. My real job is a food job. So every day is about food. It's talking about food, it's planning menus. So I have been loving this program. I started January 25th. I'm down 39.6 pounds. So I'm like 0.4 away from 40. I'd like to go another 30 pounds, and I think I will with Beth's help. The program has been phenomenal. It's just so easy. I feel like all you have to do is do it and follow the rules, and the weight will come off. I find it very interesting to try different recipes. I love reading everything online. I never post, but I read it constantly. I'm drinking water all the time, and I think that's why there's a toilet paper shortage lately. So I'm not really sure what else I'm supposed to cover other than I love fueling hacks. I try different things all the time. If it wasn't for having to text Beth on Monday mornings, I probably might fall off the program a little bit, but I always think I'm gonna have to check in with Beth. She's like a sponsor for food. So
Well, I think that's fabulous. I have a question. I didn't ask you this in advance, so you might not be able to have something off the top of your head, but I mean, you're a food person. What are some of the hacks you like? Because the last time I presented, we were doing fueling hacks. Are there any hacks you could recommend to the group that you can think of offhand?
well, I do have my waffle maker, and I don't use the Dash. I have a real waffle maker.
Mhm.
I feel like I just want to buy stock in Dash from you guys talking about it all the time. So I like waffling. I live for my brownie at night with PB2 on it. That's like having the powdered peanut butter. Um, I always like bulk up the soup with like a lot of like stewed tomatoes, and I love spice, so I throw jalapenos and everything. I'm probably not as good with the condiments, but I kind of figured, dried parsley wasn't what got me here. So like I do like to like flavor my food a lot.
You're funny. Well, I love it. I mean, and I think you're such a good role model, right? You guys, I mean, you have a new client who says, well, there's a lot of food in my house. You can say, hey, we have a successful food truck owner who's lost 40 pounds on this program. So
Well, and her partner's a chef. So, I mean, really, how hard could that be? And Jen has been completely disciplined and, I don't know, a dream client, I think. So,
Oh,
good
that's
job,
just
Jen.
because Beth wants me to order more. No, I'm just,
No.
no, I do love this program. And yes, my partner is a chef, but he also understands the whole low carb thing. So he's also a dream to go out with because he knows exactly what to order. He could whip up some amazing fish dish, like on a spur of the moment. But I have to say, don't tell anybody else this, Facebook people. When people come up to me now and say, oh my gosh, you've lost weight, I'm like, oh yeah, it's from our pizza and pretzels. So, but I know the carbs don't count on the weekend for them.
oh my
And
God.
you have 4 kids. So I'll
Oh,
just put that out there.
That's a perfect segue for the weekend.
Here we go. All right. First of all, thank you, Jen, so much. And hopefully you'll enjoy the rest of the session and you'll come back. But thanks for your story. It's great. So, all right, you guys. So we're I always pick these topics that I think, are not always covered, but we really need to talk about. And one is the weekends and just other challenges. I did prepare some slides just to keep myself on track. I wanted to be interactive though, so don't fall asleep, please. Okay. All right, can everybody see that? Yeah. So handling weekends and challenges. So I broke the weekends up into 2 categories. One is eating out, at a restaurant, and then one is if you have to go to somebody's house. So for me, you'll see some other things too, but a lot of the challenges for the weekends, I think, is when you're not eating in your regular routine. So here are some of my suggestions, but I would love to hear your suggestions too. So if you're going to eat out on the weekends and I'm assuming we're on the program. So make sure you eat all your fuelings, right? Like in the old school, it was like, oh, I'm going out. Well, I won't eat all day. Like that's the worst thing you can do because then you go out and you're starving. So make sure you still stay in your routine of being on the program with the fuelings. Eat your lean and green before, potentially depending on where you're going, know you have a plan, have a plan. If you're going to Jen's pizza food truck, you might have to have your lean and green before you go. If you're going somewhere where you feel like there's really good lean and green, then you might be fine doing that. Check the menu at the restaurant. Don't leave it all up to chance. Find out where you're going and check the menu and make sure there's something you can have. Or suggest a restaurant. I mean, how many times do we make plans and we say, well, I don't care where we go. And your friend says, well, I don't care. And you say, well, you do care. So say, yep, what about this restaurant? Because you can get a salad with grilled chicken. Be a little bit assertive there. And I think you'll find that you'll be more successful that way. Tweak the timing of the meal, right? If you know that, if you go for an early dinner, that's going to work better, do that. If you know that you really want to have your lean and green at night, maybe you suggest like a breakfast place and you have coffee and a bar. Do you know what I mean? Like you can tweak the timing of the meal you're going out for. Call ahead with questions to the restaurant. Why not? They're used to fielding questions all the time. There are more food allergies now and food accommodations than ever before. So they're just very, very used to it. And, why not make use of your, of your resources, use your resources. And then the other one is, because we're going to talk about alcohol, right? Because that's part of the weekend for some people. You can offer to be the designated driver and then no one's going to say, come on, have a drink, have a drink, have a drink. You know what I mean? You can just say, if you're going out with another couple, say, we'll pick you guys up and you drive. And that way there's just less prodding, I feel, for you guys to have to have a drink. And then here's the second section. Then I'm gonna ask you guys for suggestions.
Hey, Amy,
Yes.
Doreen and I ate out twice a week on the 5 and 1 and lost 40 pounds in 4 months each. So you can absolutely do it. The other big tip is don't be afraid to ask the server to have things your way. Whatever that is, they'll do almost anything if you ask. Worst cases, they say, oh, that's $1.50 upcharge. And I'm like, okay, for my health, I'll pay another $1.50 for 2 vegetables instead of the potato or whatever it is.
Yes.
Half the
Yes.
dressing on the Caesar salad comes out fantastic. You know,
Yeah.
you just ask for it however you want.
Yep,
Thanks.
I love, yeah, thank you, Chuck. I love that. Yeah. And I'm going to talk about this section, then we're going to, I have more, but we're going to open it up and see what other suggestions people have. But thanks, Chuck. That's very, very helpful. So now let's say you're going to someone's house, it's a party, or they invited you to dinner or drinks and apps or whatever it might be on the weekend. So same thing, make sure you have your fuelings. Don't like just starve yourself all day. Eat your lean and green before you go, depending on where you're going. You might be better off going having eaten, depending on what's there, especially if it's not a sit-down dinner and people are just grabbing things. You might be better off having had the meal you know is going to work beforehand. You can offer to bring something, right? So everybody's bringing something, you bring a salad with grilled chicken. Oh my God, there's your lean and green right there. You know, it's always good to bring something that you know you can have. That's just insurance. Bring an on-plan fun beverage, a non-alcoholic. So like, you know, there's all kinds of flavored seltzers and things like that that you can have if that makes you feel a little more in the flow of the party. Call the hostess ahead. If it's your friend or your friend's friend or, you know, somebody in your husband's work, just say, hey, I have some food constraints. Can you let me know what you're making? I mean, nobody cares. You know, I would not mind if somebody called me and said, what are you making? I have some, you don't have to say you're on a diet. You don't have to say you're trying to lose weight. You can just say, I have some food issues or food sensitivities or whatever. You know, it is so commonplace now, so much more than even, 5 years ago. Or host it at your house. You know, have it at your house. Then you can absolutely have a full menu of things that work for you, and other people can bring other things. Save a feeling for after. I used to do this. Even now, if I were doing the program, I'd probably have 4 fuelings, have my dinner and have one after. But when I was doing the program, you know what I mean? If we went out to dinner, I knew when I got home, I was going to have the cookie or the brownie or whatever it was. So I'm sorry. So I found that helpful. So before I go on, I want to know what great ideas the group has. What kinds of things have you guys tried or done that you think would be helpful for the crowd that we didn't mention, that I didn't mention? Chuck just brought up a great one, like don't be shy with the waitress or waiter to prepare things your way. Does anyone else have any ideas for eating on the weekends, either eating out or going to someone's house?
I do.
Yes, go ahead.
I would just say, pick an accountability partner, like, somebody that's going to be with you, and just tell them, okay, these are my plans, and make sure that they're supportive, make sure you have somebody supportive that's going to make it a little easier for you.
I love that. That's a great idea. Because I think a lot of times we try to keep everything secret, we don't want to tell anyone, but that is a great idea. Very, very good. Thanks, Heidi. I think that's very helpful.
This is Kate Finland. I am traveling this weekend, so I've spoken with my coach Mitzi about what I'm going to do, because I'm going to Nashville, and I really wanted to try Nashville hot chicken. So with the people I'm traveling with, I already gave them the heads up. I said I want a bite, but I'm on I'm on my program and I'm doing really well. I don't want to ruin it. I actually have a blender that I shipped from Amazon to the hotel, so that I can have my blender and have my shakes. And then I'm bringing one of my little Dash things with me. So I've got myself all set. I've got, and Mitzi guided me through this, but I've got myself all set because I've been in 8 weeks now and I'm 22 pounds down, and I'm not going to blow this. I've got a lot more to go.
Yeah.
And, but my people around me were great. They were terrific. They're like, we'll do whatever we need. We'll find restaurants that you can get something that you're going to be comfortable eating. Don't worry about it. We'll figure it out.
Oh my God. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. What a great inspiration. And if the people around you are supportive, that is impressive, right? Because you could hear, well, we're on vacation and we don't, so that's
Yeah.
great. That's great. When I first did this program in 2013, I traveled a bunch and I had I didn't have it shipped. So you're one step ahead of me, but I bought like a mini Hamilton Beach $19 blender from Target and I packed it in my suitcase. And I got the ice from the hotel and I made shakes, but the dash is great. Good for you. Good for you. Why lose your momentum? Why lose your momentum? Who else has a suggestion or has tried something on the weekends that's been helpful?
I think most places where if you order a salad, they're usually very tasty and filling, so you can't go wrong there.
Right. Yes, absolutely, Mike. Especially now. Don't you feel like there's so many more salad options on menus now than there were even a few years ago? Thanks.
Yeah, it's hard to go wrong.
Yeah. True.
Amy?
Yes.
So one of the things that I did when I was on plan was I kind of thought, how do I want to feel tomorrow morning? And that really helped me to be a little bit stronger under temptations.
Yeah. Right. That's always
it
good.
just helped me. Like I want to wake up and feel better tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love that. I love that. And you can think, I used to say to my clients, how are you going to feel when you're driving home after the weekend? Put yourself forward, which I love that, Beth. That's great. Yeah. That's awesome. Anybody else have any suggestions for like sort of eating out or eating at someone's house or going to a party?
I'll share something from a client the other day, which was amazing. She called me up and she was like, I had a non-scale victory. She was so excited because she was going to a girls' night at a friend's house. And it was all these moms that they were celebrating their kids being seniors and all of this. And everybody was bringing a dish and everyone was bringing such unhealthy dishes. It was unbelievable. And she said, I'll bring a salad with grilled chicken. And she was so proud of herself because she knew she would be able to stay on program and she felt totally comfortable saying, I'm going to bring a salad with chicken. So it goes in line with what you said, Amy. If you are going to someone's house, offer to bring the dish.
Right. Yes. And I bet that was a very popular dish too, because, I bet, people are health conscious. I bet they were looking for that.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Absolutely. But she was so proud of herself and realized it was a non-scale victory, which was so awesome.
Well, that's great. And now you shared it. So that's a win-win. Thanks for sharing that. I'm going to keep going and we'll talk in a minute. So we talked about eating out at a restaurant. We talked about if you're invited to someone's house. What about the extra time you have on the weekends, right? If you're a pretty structured person or you're working and you're busy during the week, sometimes people find it easier to stay on the program during the week because on the weekends you have this like unstructured time and you think about food more and you sort of want to reward yourself more. So I came up with a couple of things that I try to encourage people to do, and even myself on the weekend. So try to add structure instead of just having, you wake up Saturday and it's just, oh, it's Saturday, try to add some structure to your day, either some chores or some tasks or even something enjoyable, but, set up a little structure for yourself. Get out of the house, get out. Just go. And I think that can be really helpful and get out of the kitchen. And that's the other thing, I work from home, right? I'm a coach and I really spend time in my kitchen. So it's always helpful to just get out of the kitchen. Then you're away from the food. You don't think about the food, you're doing something else. Make plans that don't involve food. Go for a walk with a friend, go to a movie, do some gardening. You know what I mean? Every plan doesn't have to involve a food like a breakfast or lunch or dinner. So that's the other thing. And use your voice. And some of you talked about this already. Don't be shy, like talk about what you need and what you want. If you have a partner or a spouse and, they really want to go for pasta or pizza or ice cream or whatever it is, sometimes we have to use our voice and just say, I'm really focused on this and this is important to me. So if you want to do that, I'm not going to participate, can we go someplace that works for me? So sometimes we're pleasers, and I'm a pleaser, but if you really want to focus on your health, sometimes you have to kind of use your voice and speak up for what's going to work for you, and get in the tunnel. What I mean by that is, I felt when I did this program that, like, after a few weeks, I just felt like I was on a roll, and I was like, I envisioned myself in like a big tunnel, and all the rest of the food and drink in the world was outside of the tunnel, and all the good, Optavia things were in the tunnel, and I just pushed, I just head down and I just did it. So that's what I mean by that. Don't get distracted by, oh, my friends are doing this, and oh, this one's doing this. Just stay in your lane. Really try to keep focus on the program and what you're doing. And I threw this in here because I just think this is something that we don't usually talk about, which is reasons we eat when we're not hungry. And it just reminded me of that when I think of the weekend, because there's so much more unstructured time usually. So you might eat when you're not hungry to cope with something because you're bored. Because the food's there, which is why I say get out of the kitchen. You might have a fond food memory. Oh, when I was young, we used to go for ice cream or whatever it was. It's a special occasion, so that's a weekend thing. So you have to decide, is it, Uncle Fred's birthday cake? Is that, some reason that you have to really go off the program, or is it just Uncle Fred's birthday cake? You know what I mean? You have to sort of think about what's important to you. Because it's something to look forward to, right? When food is talked about all the time, they're like, oh my God, wait till we eat this. And you talk about it all week till you get to the food. So try to sort of dissipate that over focusing on the food. Maybe you're tired, maybe because the clock says it's 6 o'clock time for dinner. Try to just either eat when you're hungry or eat when it's your fueling time, and the clean plate syndrome, which we know. And so lastly, because boy, time is flying, here's some of the other challenges, and I'm going to give you guys a chance to talk in a second. Alcohol, how do you handle alcohol on the weekends if you're on the program? And, I would say to that, speak to your own coach. For me, I think if you want the best results, you follow the program the way it's written, which is no alcohol. But that's not a reason not to do the program. If something comes up and you feel that's your choice, that you're going to have a drink, then make sure your coach tells you the best possible way to do it with the least damage, so to speak. People not knowing, we're also secretive these days. We don't want anyone knowing that we're on this program. So that's a challenge when, everybody's going off and doing something, and it's just that you don't want to do that because it doesn't work for you with the program. Traveling, going away, we just talked about that too. You absolutely can work around it. You just have to be dedicated to the fact that you're going to work around it. And then there's sabotagers. There are going to be the people in your life. They're going to be like, oh, come on, have this. Oh, come on. Oh, you look good. You don't need to lose weight. You have to just sort of tune those people out and stay the course, stick with what is important to you. And that's easier said than done. So I'd love to know from you guys, any other tips and pointers, if it's more about like trying to add structure to the weekend, things you've done, like let's share with each other. What are some things you guys have done that you think have helped you through the weekend successfully?
On the weekends, I meal prep for the week a lot of times. So my lean and greens, like I'll make a big dish of something that has like 4 different servings for me, and well, 2 for me, 1 for me and 1 for my husband. So, I do a lot of that, especially in the winter when you're stuck in the house anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Now that it's, it's getting warmer, we grill out a lot, which is nice. And I'll even make extra. So I have an extra chicken for salad, leftover. So that's my thing to do, so that I'm not bored on the weekends.
Oh my God, thank you for sharing that. I love that. And for a lot of those lean and green recipes, like you said, it's a 9x13 pan or something, and it makes 4 servings and you put 3 in the freezer. I mean, that's like a win-win,
Right.
That's great. Who else has some suggestions for the weekend? Or has done any of the ones I mentioned? I think that's a good idea.
Well, this is kind of expounding on yours, but I love the idea of finding ways to, sort of celebrate that don't involve food. So maybe it's going out on a hike, or, something that is enjoyable because of the success that you've had on your program. It sort of reinforces that you're not on a diet. This is really an overall health journey.
Yeah, and I love that. And I think like that's a great thing to teach our kids too, is that everything doesn't have to be celebrated with food. There's other activities we can do, or focusing on a person, that we want to speak to or see. So yeah, that's
I
great.
like celebrating with golf, and it's getting to be golf weather, and I cannot wait. I drove past the golf course today, and I was like, oh my God, I want that to be me this weekend. I'm going to be out there because it's getting so nice here, finally. It's been a long winter.
Great. That's awesome, Peggy. Yeah, and that's great, especially if you walk. That's a win-win right there.
I try to play tennis. I'm not much of a golfer. And the other day, and usually when I have a cigar, I'll go on the porch and have a cocktail with it. This time I had the cigar and walked the dog instead and stayed away from the cocktail.
So that's a habit switch. You know what I mean? You're creating a new habit there, which is great.
Like that's awesome.
Yeah. You recognize what you were doing and you're trying to switch it up. I love that. That's good self-awareness. Very good.
The other reminder for the weekend is don't forget to eat, because it's so unstructured. If you skip a fueling and you fall behind, then you're going to be starving. Then you're going to go off the rails. So it's really important to set your timer or whatever, whether you're doing yard work and you can't let go 3-4 hours. You just got to stop, take a break.
Yes. Yep. Thanks, Chuck. That's awesome.
I also think it's helpful not to make a big deal out of it when you're with your friends and family, and you just do your thing and not make such a to-do about doing the program. It's not that it needs to be a secret at all, that you're on a healthy journey, but you don't have to make, oh, I can't have that. I can't do this. I can't do that. It's really looking at that you have choices and you're making healthy choices for yourself, and looking at, the things that you will or won't do beforehand so that your mind is ready for it, I think is really helpful as well. And the more that you say on program with your friends and your family around, the more and more supportive they're going to be for you, because they know that you're committed and you're taking it really seriously. And then you start to see a shift and a change in them towards what you're doing. So some other people may have something to say, but it's our Habits of Health call at 8:30. I put the link in there, and so it's in the chat. The other thing is, if you're a coach, you're going to want to stay on here on this Zoom room with Jen for coach training. And everyone's so happy to have you all here, and hope to see you all next Wednesday. Amy, awesome. And Jen, awesome for your first time here and doing a testimonial. So great. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Jen McKay.